Good morning, sixth graders. So after taking a look at your Google Forms, I was able to see that we feel very confident in identifying whether a question is statistical or not statistical. So that's an awesome start to this topic. What we're going to be working on today is finding the mean of data. So you might have heard of the word mean before in previous grades, but basically it's a measure of center that can be used to summarize a data distribution. So instead of just saying a bunch of numbers, giving someone a bunch of numbers, you can almost find the average and then just say that average. So if you're ever curious about how I do your grades, okay, and how I get a grade for you, well, if you have 4 test grades, I take the average of all the grades, and that's the average for your test grades. I take the mean, okay? Same thing with your quizzes, okay? You have all those quizzes, and then all those quizzes, I find the mean, or the computer actually finds the mean of them, and that's your average quiz grade. So mean is very, very common, and it's used all the time. So let's look at this problem. Right now, I'm on page 756 in your workbook. It says Carla is in a bowling league. What is the mean or average final score of the 5 bowlers on her team? And again, it says the definition of mean or average is the sum of all the values in a data set divided by the total number of data values in a set. Okay, so basically the definition of mean, they kind of tell you how to find it. You basically add up all of the values in a data set and then divide that total sum by how many values you have, okay? So it says the mean final score of the 5 bowlers on her team. So if we look right now, the final score of all these bowlers are these, okay? So what we're going to do, follow the definition of mean, add up all these values, okay, and then divide that sum by the total number of data values. So let's look. Step 1, you're going to add all of those final scores. So once you add them all, you get 430. Well, 430 is definitely not the mean. The first thing you have to do once you get that total is divide by how many data values you have. Okay, so let's look. How many data values do we have? Well, if I counted, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So step 2 then is going to be taking the total that I got when I added them all together, 430, and dividing by how many scores there are, which are 5, and the average score is 86, okay? So the mean or average final score is 86. So we use that data instead of just saying, if someone asks, oh, how'd you guys do? And then someone said 95, 87, 84, 81, 83. You can just say, oh, well, our average score was 86. And it kind of sums up all the data points, all right? So that's how you find the mean. Okay, so we're going to do a few examples together before you do some on your own on the Google form. And I am going to be very nice and allow you to use a calculator. All right, so let's turn to page, actually let's look right at page 757. Okay, page 757. All right, so it says use the data shown in the table to find each mean. So you want to find the mean first of the technical marks from judges. So right now I'm on page 757. All right, so the technical marks from judges, okay? So if we wanted to find the average, that's a lot of marks, okay? We want to summarize this data by saying what is kind of like that center, that average of all of those judges' marks, okay? Well, what you can do is add up all of these numbers, Okay, so everyone right now, add up all of these numbers. You can do it on a cell phone calculator. You can do it on the side if you don't want to use a calculator. That's fine too, okay? Add up all of these numbers and see what you get. So I'm going to do that right now. All right, so what I got when I added them all together, I got 40 and 6/10. Okay, now what I'm gonna say, since I am letting you use a calculator, be sure that you're typing in the numbers correctly and you're not skipping numbers, okay? Because I actually had to redo it twice because I realized that I forgot to add a decimal point, or I hit the decimal point, but it didn't actually put it into the calculator. Okay, so what I'm going to do to make sure this is correct, I'm going to add these again. And I'm going to check off the number once I've added it. So I have 5 and 9/10 plus 5 and 8/10 plus another 5 and 8/10 plus 5 and 6/10. And I'm making sure to hit the buttons hard on my calculator. Plus 5 and 9/10 plus 5 and 6/10 plus 6. And yep, I get 40 and 6/10 again, so I know I did that correctly. But that's not the average. What number do I have to divide this by? Well, remember, you have to find the sum and then divide by how many you have. So if we counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to make a note that that's 7. So we're going to divide 40 and 6/10 by 7. And if I do that in my calculator, I end up getting 5 and 8/10 as my average for technical marks from judges. All right. Now, presentation marks from judges. Again, I'm going to add up all of these and see what I get. So take some time right now and add up all of those numbers from presentation marks. So I'm going to do that. 5 and 4/10 plus 5 and 7/10 plus 5 and 6/10 plus 5 and 3/10 plus 5 and 5/10 plus 5 and 3/10 plus 5 and 7/10. And I end up getting 89 and 8/10. Now, I'm looking at that right now, and I added those all together, and they're kind of very similar to this, but I got 89 and 8/10 for this, and I got 40 and 6/10 for this. So I'm thinking I probably putting something wrong into the calculator. So let me try again. 5 and 4/10 plus 5 and 7/10 plus 5 and 6/10 plus 5 and 3/10 plus 5 and 5/10 plus 5 and 3/10 5 and 7/10. Ah, that makes much more sense. 38 and 5/10. So you see how I checked my work, and I almost kind of used common sense because I'm like, wait, these numbers are very similar to these numbers, but that total is very different. So make sure to kind of still use your common sense when you're figuring this out, because you may kind of catch yourself. It's really easy to make an error. So I'm just going to check this one more time. All right, so again, it can't hurt to double and triple check. So now we're going to take this number right here, and we're going to divide it by what? there's 7 judges. So we're going to do 38 and 5/10 divided by 7. And you get 5 and 5/10 as that average. All right, so that's just a brief kind of summary of how to find the mean. Again, you add up everything in your data, all the data values, and then you divide by how many values there are. So again, if I'm doing like test scores and you have 5 grades, okay, then you can see that, where's my eraser? So let's look really quick actually. And this is how grades work. All right. So if I have my whiteboard, okay, and you are someone, you got let's do homework grades, okay? Because I want to emphasize how important homework is, okay? So let's say that you get 100 on a homework, another 100 on a homework, another 100 on a homework. You didn't hand in a homework. You handed in a homework late. And then you, let's see. You did not hand in another homework, okay? So these are your homework grades right now. 100, 100, 100, doing good. Missed a homework, late, missed a homework, okay? I always emphasize how important it is to do your homework because these zeros affect, look, you have 300s. You may think, okay, I'm doing great for homework. But the average that goes into the computer, you add up all of these and then divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 homeworks. If we add all of these up, 100, 200, 300, 350 divided by 6 homeworks total. Because of those 2 zeros and that 50, your homework grade is a 58. Okay? So I kind of like how we're talking about mean because it's really, really important to how the grade book works and what grades you get in class. Okay? Because look, all of that hard work with these homeworks and then you miss 2 homeworks and then you hand one in late, your average grade for homework is a 58 when it could easily just be a 100, okay? And to emphasize how important even handing something in late is, with those 2 zeros, you got a 58. But let's instead say that you handed both of those zeros in late. So you got 50s for them. Well, if we add it together now, 100, 200, 300, 400, 450. Okay? 450 divided by 6. Look at that. Look how much of an improvement your homework grade is if you hand in late assignments compared to if you just don't do them at all. You go from a 58 to a 75. All right? So a little life lesson in today's actual math lesson as well, math in the real world. All right? So make sure that you complete the Google form that is attached to this Edpuzzle. It has some more practice problems for you to practice finding the mean or the average of a bunch of data values. All right, again, you can use a calculator. What I would emphasize, make sure double check what you're putting into the calculator and double check when you're adding everything because you may make an error, which I did actually a couple times during this lesson. All right, so just make sure you're double checking it. Can't hurt. All right, have a great day, everyone.